Games you gotta know me, I'm 5, bro. It wasn't supposed to end like this, man. It just wasn't supposed to end like this. You know what I'm saying? Like, Luka tried his best, but you just fall down to 3-0 on a crucial game. And it's game 4 tonight. It's crazy, man. Celtics having one of the easiest road ever, nowhere near net the all-time, and they're a super team. Would it be crazy for Luka to win Finals MVP in a Celtics Finals win? How? He ain't doing shit. Yes, I'm the best player in the world. Who's crying now, bitch? Oh shit. Refs giving tantrum, jumping, whining. Is he winning? My neck, my leg, my arm, my chest. Help us, Luka. Jason's kid gameplay. The Mavs aren't even that good. They were just hot for a few weeks. Buddy, they're white. He's better than Clay. Drew is better than Draymond. Tatum is better than KD. Who else? Curry is better than Jaylen Brown. Okay, that's facts. Kristaps is better than Iguodala. Okay, I gotta agree with that. And this possible series in 4.
Can you say something nice about the Celtics?
Absolutely not.
They suck. The Celtics suck.
Just go home.
Yo, who the fuck is dropping these hot takes?
Get the bazooka. Get the 50 cal ready.
It's the NBA Finals, and
Yeah,
you know
crazy.
what that means. A new champion will be crowned. Legacies will be cemented. The torch
Jeez, up.
passed from one team to another, and some of the most scorching hot takes you've ever laid eyes on. Today, we're going to take a look at some of these takes. NBA Finals Edition. The good, the bad, and the downright horrific.
Arguably the
Sweep!
best offensive
Sweep!
backcourt
Sweep!
in the history of the
Sweep,
NBA.
sweep,
and
sweep.
Luka
The floor is dirty.
Kyrie Irving.
The floor is dirty. See you, Luka, and the Mavs.
Today's video is sponsored by Factor
Next
75.
year.
Factor is a gourmet meal kit service that makes hitting your
Alright, buddy.
nutritional and more 50 2020 team on for NBA Finals have been a bit one-sided.
Oh my
And with
god, that nigga's getting.
so far the 2024 NBA Finals have been a bit one-sided. And with my rotten team on
crazy.
vacation for the last 2 months, I unfortunately have no dog
Nigga,
in
you
this
a Portland
race.
Trailblazers fan? Oh yeah, but you would never see like, bro. Why at this point, bro? Just switch up to a team like the Lakers. You have more hope like that. You're rooting for the Portland Trailblazers.
Instead,
Yeah,
I
buddy.
cope by watching
It's gonna be
other
a long
fans
time
viciously
till
duke
you're
it
in the
out while
finals
their
having fun.
team fights for NBA supremacy. And almost
Long
as
time.
entertaining as the finals itself are some of the takes and opinions that emerge from said duking. And here are some of the more interesting ones I came across. Now, our first take comes from a fan that says that if the Celtics win the finals, Luka Doncic should still be considered for the finals
Niggas and
MVP.
LeBron should have like at least 4
Now,
rings.
my friend, I know you're in a tough position. Losing in the finals is not an easy thing to go through. I mean, being a Blazers fan, I personally wouldn't know the feeling, but I assume it's got to be
Yeah, at
painful.
all.
But I do know where you're coming from, because LeBron's my favorite player, and I had to watch this. The 2015 finals. If anyone tells you basketball is a 5-on-5 sport, they're lying, because I had to watch this man get jumped 5v1 versus one of the greatest teams in modern times. With Timofey Mozgov and J.R. Smith by his side,
That was
LeBron
low-key
dragged
rape,
his
bro.
series
Borderline,
to
like,
6 games
that was
while
low-key
averaging
rape what they did to
36
LeBron.
points,
He should definitely sue.
13 rebounds,
Yeah, that was
and
unfair,
9
bro.
assists in the series.
And then Adam
while
Silver let
watching
fucking,
Matthew Dellavedova nearly go
KD
into
go there.
cardiac arrest trying to chase Stephen Curry
Bro,
around for 40 minutes,
where was
many
this other
fans
guy at? What's
asked
his
the
name?
question: even if the Cavs lose this series, should LeBron still
Damn, I
receive
forgot what
Finals
was-
MVP?
was the other
He's
commissioner's
clearly
name.
the best player on the floor. The answer was no, and it will always be no. Instead, the award went to the man who was guarding LeBron. To give some perspective on how
That's
LeBron
crazy.
nearly single-handedly willed the Cavs to a championship in 2015, here is a breakdown of how much he was contributing to his team in that finals series. By himself, LeBron accounted for 38% of the Cavaliers' points, 56% of their assists, 28% of their rebounds, 60% of the total points generated throughout the series, and was able to win 2 games. So far in the 2024 finals, Luka single-handedly makes up for 33% of the Mavericks' points, 40% of their assists, 24% of their rebounds, and 48% of the total
Close,
points
but not
generated
quite, buddy.
by the team.
Imagine
It doesn't matter
2018
how
LeBron.
well a player plays in the finals. You have to win it to even be considered for the finals MVP.
show 2018
the award
LeBron
is for
stats,
the
please.
best player on the winning team, not just the best player in the series. And if LeBron's performance in the 2015 finals didn't warrant a finals MVP despite the loss, I'm not sure if anything ever will. Now here's a take for all the Celtics fans out there. This fan says that a championship for Boston this season would make Jason Tatum
Oh, yeah, 100%.
better than Paul Pierce. Now let me begin by saying Paul Pierce has become one of the most underrated stars of the past. His resume doesn't quite stack up to some of his peers of the 2000s, but Pierce was a really good player and a cornerstone to the Celtics franchise for 15 years. Some moments and opinions he's had over
he
the
was there
last
for
few years
15
have
years.
kind of skewed the public's perception on him, but that doesn't change how awesome he was as a player. But with that being said, as an individual player, Jason
not know he was
Tatum
in the Celtics for
is
15 years.
already better than Paul Pierce was. Tatum has a
100%.
more well-rounded game. He's a much better playmaker, he's more versatile, and where Pierce really shined with his scoring and shooting ability, Tatum does even that at about the same rate and caliber. Keep in mind, Pierce did play in the slowest era in NBA history, so his numbers don't quite do him justice. Adjusted for the pace of today's NBA, his numbers would look something like this. Really similar to what we've seen from Tatum throughout his career. But overall, Tatum has already peaked higher than Pierce did. He is a far better defensive player than Pierce was, and he's more versatile on both ends of the floor. Tatum already has 10 times the MVP shares Pierce did in his 19-year career. Individually, Tatum has been good enough for long enough
Tatum is
to say
way
that
better
he has
than
a bigger
Paul Pierce. Like,
impact
how is that
on
even a
game-to-game
debate?
basis
Paul
than
Pierce got
Pierce
a
did.
ring.
At the moment, you can still make
Tatum
an
about to get a
argument
ring and
for
Finals
Pierce being
MVP.
the better player throughout his career, but if the Celtics win a ring this year, and especially if Jason Tatum wins a Finals MVP, then that argument no longer exists. But even without those accolades on his resume, I agree with this take. Jason Tatum is better than Paul Pierce was, and a ring this season would cement it. Now,
Yeah,
this
and
next
a
take
Finals
came
MVP.
live on air during the Western
He gotta
Conference
go off for
Finals,
50
and
tonight.
fans are interpreting
Easy.
it in a few different ways. In the midst of going up 3-0 on the Timberwolves, Stan Van Gundy said that Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving are arguably the best offensive backcourt in the history of the NBA.
They have two guys that are pretty electrifying
Yeah, buddy.
as well.
Yeah,
Let me tell you
Minnesota's
something.
top-rated defense is
It's
gonna
not
be
looking like it
challenged
anymore, buddy.
Trying to
It's just
slow
not.
them down.
I don't know what to tell you no more.
The best
It's just not.
offensive backcourt in the history of the NBA and Luka
History.
and Kyrie Irving.
Kyrie and
Now,
LeBron.
Luka and
Well, come
Kyrie
on.
have
KD
only
and
played about
Steph.
70 games together. And this is their first
That's actually
postseason
a
playing
wild-ass
together,
take
and they
to say,
haven't
bro.
really accomplished much in the grand scheme of things. And about
Even
a
Shaq
million
and
other
Kobe
reasons
were better
why
than
this
Luka
sounds
and Kyrie.
crazy at first. But Stan wasn't implying anything about
Oh,
success or
backcourt. Never mind,
accomplishments.
bro.
Just
Oh
simply
my God.
as an offensive duo, Luka and Kyrie might be the best backcourt we've ever seen.
Klay
If
Thompson
we're just talking about
and Curry.
offensive ability, then there really aren't many backcourts that stack up against this one. That short list may include 2018 Harden and Chris Paul, 2021 Harden and Kyrie. If we consider Luka to be a guard, then surely LeBron and Kyrie in 2017 would be considered a backcourt duo as well. Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker were pretty damn good. This fan might be onto something with his choice of the best backcourt of all time. And of course, the two elephants in the room, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. For the sake of this argument, if we ignore the accomplishments and the time these duos played together and just approach this from the aspect of offensive ability and production, then Luka and Kyrie are actually in the conversation for the best offensive backcourt in NBA history.
bro,
Taking the best
that's
versions
tough.
of each of these backcourts throughout the years and looking at some of their numbers like points per game, total points generated per game, this statistic
Jeez.
factors in assists to their total offensive output, shooting efficiency, and their offensive impact through offensive estimated plus minus, then it's pretty tough to choose just one backcourt out of these five. Luka and Kyrie are the most productive, and they're just about as impactful offensively as these other backcourts. But once you factor in the shot making, scoring versatility, gravity, and all the little things that make a player special offensively that the numbers might not account for, then you could definitely make an argument that Luka and Kyrie are the most offensively talented backcourt in NBA history. Now,
That's it.
as to how good they are, well then if we can't use accolades and accomplishments, and this is just an eye test kind of thing, then that's pretty subjective. Steph and Clay were good enough to win 4 titles together, but I guess you could say that as a backcourt, they weren't as good at basketball as the combination of Luka and Kyrie.
He didn't get robbed this year by
Harden and
Iguodala.
Kyrie were really good at basketball, but they didn't really play together all that often. And it feels a bit wrong to not at least consider that within this discussion. Once you start to factor in what these backcourts actually did together, this entire discussion changes very quickly. But in terms of exactly what Stan Van Gundy was referring to, offensive excellence, then Luka and Kyrie are in fact arguably one of the best backcourts the game has ever seen. Our next take is one of the more unhinged takes I've seen recently. Let's not sugarcoat it. Jason Tatum has underperformed a bit over the last couple weeks, and coming off the heels of a Jaylen Brown Conference Finals MVP, followed up by a lackluster start in the finals, Tatum's superstar label has been put into question. The peak of Jason Tatum propaganda.
That's not fair,
This right here. Fans claiming that Jason Tatum is an elite role player.
That's why, bro. That's actually mad glazing, because I feel like Tatum just.
And this take is missing so much
context.
Like
a few bad games.
Like, realistically, I feel like Tatum is purely out of spite.
First of all, he's my twin. Like, look, we got the same hairline.
Which is when this discourse really started to gain traction. Tatum has been averaging 26 points, 7 assists, and 10 rebounds a game on 52% true shooting while winning all 6 games. Those are
has
all
36
NBA
points.
numbers in the playoffs, and people are calling him a role player. In fact, there have only been 7 players in the history of the NBA to make it past the first round while averaging these numbers in a playoff run. Oscar Robertson, Larry Bird, LeBron, Giannis, Jokic, Luka, and Jason Tatum. A really, really good group of elite role players. Now, I will be the first to say that Tatum has drifted into unwarranted territory over the last year or two, with some fans trying to jam him into the top 5 players in the NBA discussion when he isn't. But even when Tatum has a subpar stretch of games or doesn't fit the typical mold of high-volume, ultra-bucket-getting superstar that we like to see, he is still one of the best players on the planet. Calling him an elite role player is hyperbole, I get that. But the less brain-rot version of this argument is that Jason Tatum isn't a star in this league. And this is 100% objectively wrong. There is no metric or game or series or play that you could use to make this argument. At times, I too am not a big fan of the Celtics. This, however, does not send me into psychosis claiming one of the best players in the world is a role player. This take is abysmal. But let me know what y'all think. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And while you're at it, share your hottest take. The hotter the better. Hope you all enjoyed. And as always, until next time.
That's crazy. But isn't Tatum in the national team this year? Or am I bugging?